Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with an interesting new knife consult for you. In front of us is the Spyderco P.I.T.S, P-I-T-S. That stands for Pie in the Sky, and this is a knife that is designed by knife designer Mike Reed. There's his initials right there. And it is designed to be a non-locking knife that should comply with British knife laws. Now, why is this knife coming across my table living in the United States with my sort of tastes? Well, my good buddy Mitch, who sent me a few knives in the past, said that he had this knife available, and I was really interested to see what this knife was all about because it has the classic Spyderco look and a very nice construction quality, and it has a non-locking mechanism. And I sort of had an incident a while back when I went to New York City where I had an episode where I needed a knife that basically fit these specific standards, but I was carrying one of my own knives and I ended up losing that knife. So it's interesting to me to explore knives like this, to think about a scenario where I might need to travel. So this might do well as a type of traveling knife. Certainly if you live in Britain, this will be a good knife for you to take a look at. But I'm looking at it from that perspective. I'm not going to look at this as it compares to other locking knives. I don't think that that's fair, but we're just going to take this knife in and just look at it for a little bit and see what features it has, and just talk about it as a non-locking knife that's essentially a specialty tool. So let's go ahead and get some vital signs on this thing and see what we are looking at. Overall length, you're looking at about 7.3 inches, 7.4. The blade length up front is going to be just under 3 inches, with the cutting length coming in at about 2.75, maybe 2.8 inches, something like that. Back to the pivot, you're looking at about 3.3 inches, well, about 3.5 inches, and again, just over 7 inches of overall length. The handle here is coming in at a hair over 4 inches, with a little under 4 inches of grip length. So it's got a nicely sized handle for having such a small blade. I'm going to go ahead and bring out the calipers here. We'll see it's actually a very thin knife right here. So actually it's sub 0.4 inches. It's only 0.3 inches in overall thickness. That's a very, very nice size for carry and for everyday use. To add to that, it's got the wire clip. We'll get into that. So very, very nice for overall everyday use. As you can see, the titanium scales right here have been extensively milled out here on both sides with these big holes put into it, and that keeps the weight at a nice 3.26 ounces. So this is clearly designed for a everyday carry, sort of office, light duty, certainly restricted area carry here. So we'll go ahead and leave that knife open. I'm going to bring out another couple of knives for a knife comparison, a size comparison. Here is a Spyderco Para-3. So these knives are coming in at almost the exact same size, the Para-3 having a 3-inch blade as well. Here's the Paramilitary 2. So what you can see is you get a nice amount of handle for a relatively small blade. You may even be getting a little bit more blade here than the Para-3, even though it's a non-locking knife. So that's an interesting comparison right there. How about a Manix 2? We just have a whole bunch of Spydercos out on the screen here. So that's a relevant comparison right there. And how about just one more? Oh, I'm so bad at this sometimes. I just randomly pick things. We'll just randomly put this up here. The ZT0392, similar to your 5.62s, trying to keep it in the spectrum of production knives here. So now that we kind of know what size we're looking at, let's go ahead and break this knife down anatomically. I'm going to wipe off my thumbprints right there. Up front is that 3-inch blade done in N690 CO steel. To be very honest, I don't know very much about the steel. I understand it to be sort of a medium to high grade steel, produced in Europe and used by the companies in Maniago, Italy. So it is very common amongst the knives produced in this city. I couldn't tell you exactly which factory is making this. The Spyderco has a contract with a factory over there that makes a few of them. And what I can tell is that the blade is actually very well done. This is a classic Spyderco leaf-shaped blade, and it is absolutely beautifully functional. It slices like you would expect any Spyderco to. The edge came nice and sharp. I believe this is still the factory edge. It's almost a polished edge. It's quite nice, and it's very, very sharp. I have not hard used this knife, but the fact that it came this sharp with this nice of a blade from the factory is very reassuring. It has a rather sharp opening hole right there, so speaking of opening, we can go ahead and talk about the locking mechanism and everything like that. This is a unique locking mechanism here. I want to say that they called it the Pi lock. Maybe they didn't end up calling this the Pi lock, but this is a very unique thing where you can actually see that there's a tension bar built into the titanium scales. Oh, I'm trying to cut myself, and as I open it, it's rotating around. And then it's going to lock in place here when I close it. It's going to open again. As I do that, it rolls on the tang of the blade and then drops into a little divot there in the blade. And there's a stop pin on that side. And so it locks it all into place like that. Now, again, this is meant to be a non-locking knife. Really, it's supposed to be sort of a two-handed opening knife. So you're going to be doing this all day. One of the complaints I have is that it's rather hard to disengage, and so sometimes I feel almost like it's almost more dangerous to try to disengage a lock like this than a traditional locking knife, because at least you can predict what's going to happen there. I feel like every time I unlock this, it's a different amount of torque that I have to put, or a different amount of tension that I have to put to disengage that. So that's a little off-putting. But the lock is rather strong. I can't imagine disengaging this in almost any type of everyday use. It's a very, very strong lock. It takes a considerable amount to actually disengage that. So I would not in any way feel insecure using this, or unsafe, I guess I should say. It does get thumbprints and fingerprints all over it, especially bad if you make YouTube videos. So moving back, this thing has some nice titanium handles. They're all well chamfered and rounded off on the edges, so very comfortable in the hand, a very nice size. As usual, Spyderco ergonomics are on point right here. The pocket clip falls right into the fat of my hand, and so it's very comfortable, provides no hot spots at all. I get a full 4-finger grip around here, and I do feel like my fingers kind of sink into a couple of these speed holes right here. Actually, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And so it does actually provide a very nice grip in the hand, very comfortable. And very, very usable. Let's talk about the pocket clip. This comes with the famed Spyderco wire pocket clip. This has got to be my favorite clip, maybe on any production knife. It just works so darn well, and it looks really nice, and it rides very deeply. On this particular knife, you can see that it rides all the way to the top of the handle, so this just disappears in your pocket. Combine that with the low weight and the very slim profile, it definitely is quite nice in the pocket. This is a very, very nice everyday carry knife. One thing that bugs me just a little bit about the handle, when the knife is closed, that little bit of the blade sticks up just past. That is in no way a flipper tab or anything like that, and it's just kind of an annoyance. It's kind of ugly right there. And in a knife like this that's kind of more of a delicate kind of EDC sort of a thing anyways, that should have been maybe shaved off or even rounded a little bit to provide a forward finger area right there. It's really not necessary. That sort of almost makes it feel like they're trying to make it more tactical, which is not really necessary. In a non-locking knife, I can't imagine that you're going to be stabbing into something so hard that you need a forward finger choil. I would think you'd use a different knife for that. But okay, I understand. I just wish it wasn't there because it's a little bit unsightly right there. But, you know, if you're looking for a non-locking knife, if you're looking for something because your jurisdiction says that you can't have a locking knife over 3 inches or whatever, if you live in New York City, if you live in Britain, this is a knife that you can check out. I think that it's very, very well made. If I had a restriction like that, I would certainly be looking at this knife. The function is just like any other Spyderco out there. The manufacturing quality is excellent. It looks very nice. It's a very good looking knife. I believe that it came in a plain titanium and then this blue one. This knife has been discontinued, so the only place to find it is on the secondary market. So, but I do appreciate the chance to take a look at this. Thank you to my friend Mitch for sending this along for review. Tell me what you guys think of the Spyderco P.I.T.S or Pie in the Sky down below in the comments. Check out my Instagram for some pictures of this knife, and follow me over there at Dr. Frunkey. Click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. And as always, guys, this is Dr. Frunkey saying take care.